The wind howled like a hungry wolf that night, rattling the windows of Mirabel's shack and bending the old wooden door almost double its size. It was a small dwelling, barely big enough for a single person to live in, tucked away in a forgotten corner of the wasteland. Mirabel sat alone inside, the only sounds the wind outside and the crackling of the small fire she'd made in the hearth. She was an old woman, so old that no one could remember if she'd always been this way or if she'd once been young and beautiful. Her face was a road map of wrinkles, each line telling a story of hardship and struggle, her eyes like to sunken pools reflecting the dying embers of the fire. Mirabel had lived in the shack for as long as she could remember, subsisting on the meager rations she could find in the wasteland, avoiding the dangerous creatures that lurked in the shadows and the even more dangerous people who roamed the wasteland scavenging for anything they could use or trade. She was a shadow of a person, barely clinging to life, forgotten by the world. Then, when the sun had dipped below the horizon and the long shadows of twilight stretched across the land, Mirabel heard a knock at the door. She froze, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum. Who would be out this late? Why would they be coming to her? She knew no one. She hadn't seen another human being in weeks. Cautiously, she made her way to the door, her thin, gnarled hand hovering over the rusty doorknob. She took a deep breath and opened the door just a crack, and what she saw made her gasp. Standing on her doorstep was a giant of a man, tall and muscular, with a shock of white hair that reached his shoulders. His face was weathered and lined, but there was a gentleness about his eyes that put her at ease. "Hello," he said, his voice deep and resonant. "My name is Alder. I was hoping I might be able to help you." Mirabel stared at him, speechless. She couldn't remember the last time she'd had a visitor, let alone someone as imposing as Alder. He was easily twice her size, with arms that looked like they could crush her bones and a chest that seemed to stretch from one side of the shack to the other. Yet there was something about his presence that was calming, like a lighthouse in a storm. She finally found her voice. "Help me," she whispered. "But how?" Alder smiled, and it was then that Mirabel noticed the twinkle in his eyes. They were kind, compassionate eyes, the kind that saw past the rough exterior and recognized the beauty within. "I'm a builder," he said, "and I saw your shack is in need of some repair. I might be able to help you fix it up a bit." And that's how it began. Over the next few days, Alder helped Mirabel repair her cabin. He fixed the leaky roof, mended the broken windows, and reinforced the door, making it stronger than it had ever been. All the while, Mirabel watched him in amazement. She couldn't believe her good fortune in finding such a skilled builder, let alone someone willing to help her. As Alder worked, Mirabel sat on the porch swing, watching him and feeling a strange mix of emotions. She was afraid of him, yes, but she was also intrigued by him. And as the days passed, her fear turned into fascination and then into something more. She felt a connection with him, a bond that transcended their physical differences. One evening, as the sun was setting, Mirabel found herself confiding in Alder. She told him about her fears, her loneliness, and her hopes for the future. And as she spoke, she felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. She'd carried these burdens for so long, and now, finally, she was sharing them with someone. "I've never had anyone listen to me before," she said, her voice trembling. Alder looked at her, his eyes filled with understanding. "You are strong, Mirabel," he said, "and you don't have to carry those burdens alone." In that moment, Mirabel knew she wasn't alone anymore. She had Alder, and that made all the difference. As the fire crackled merrily and the stars twinkled overhead, Mirabel felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years.